All right, looks like we are at 1 o'clock. So, good afternoon, East Coast. Good morning to our West Coast folks. Welcome to our August 2025 Get Well Wednesday. I am really excited about today's webinar because we have Josh Young back, who you may remember from our June Get Well Wednesday when he introduced us to Get Well Opal for the first time. You can go to the next slide, Josh. Josh is our Vice President of Interactive Patient Care and Smart Room Technology. And today he's going to guide us through our Smart Room product suite, showcasing some of the innovations and how they come together to deliver a more seamless and engaging experience for patients, clients, clinicians, and healthcare systems alike. We'll also get a sneak peek behind the scenes at some of the upcoming Smart Room features, workflows, and enhancements that are planned on the roadmap. Before we jump in, a couple quick housekeeping items. Due to the size of the audience, everyone is automatically muted. You can put your questions or comments in the chat throughout the webinar, and I will monitor those throughout the presentation. We will also try to save some time at the end for some Q&A. I know a lot of times we run a bit long, but we are going to try to have some Q&A at the end where you'll be able to raise your hand, and I will try to take you off of mute. You can go to the next slide, Josh. For those of you who are new to Get Well Wednesdays, welcome. For those of you who are not, welcome back. You can join us virtually on the first Wednesday of each month for a 30-minute session featuring a new topic each time. We do love to showcase the great work of the Get Well client community, sharing best practices, celebrating your peers' achievements, and also highlighting key milestones and exciting projects on the horizon here at Get Well. You can register for the entire series, and then even if you can't attend one, say you're off on PTO, you'll receive the recording afterwards. You can also find all Get Well Wednesday recordings and slide decks dating all the way back to 2023 on the Get Well Connection Hub. Next slide. This is our upcoming Get Well Wednesday lineup for the next few months. One quick call out. We were going to have Spellbound AR, who's one of our vendor partners, on our September Get Well Wednesday to show off their augmented reality technology. But we have some exciting news here at Get Well that has bubbled up, and that is about to come out. So join us in September for our founder and CEO, Michael O'Neill, who will bring his energy and insights to discuss the next exciting evolution of Get Well. We are going to try to have Spellbound AR back a little bit later this year, so hopefully either that November slot or December if schedules allow. So more to come there. Stay tuned. We also love having our clients present at Get Well Wednesdays to show off your good work and practices. So if you're working on something interesting, if you're finding success with some best practices, we would love for you to present on a Get Well Wednesday coming up. So please don't be shy. Let us know, let your client success team know, and we would love to have you on an upcoming Get Well Wednesday. So with that, I will pass it over to Josh.
Great. Thank you, Misty. And thanks everyone for joining. So as Misty mentioned, I am Josh Young, VP of Interactive Patient Care and Smart Room Technologies at Get Well. And today we are going to take a look at a bunch of stuff. We're going to take a look at how Get Well is shaping and anticipating the smart hospital room of the future, which really creates, in our vision, a safer, more connected, and more engaging environment for patients, clinicians, and for you guys as the hospitals and health systems. So with that, let's jump into a couple upfront slides, and then we'll get into some more of the nitty-gritty. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but as you guys know, there are multiple problems with the hospital setting and the hospital room today, right? Today's patient room is extremely fragmented still. Hospitals such as yourselves have invested, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in some cases into various smart room technologies that include the EHR, solutions such as Get Well, nurse call systems, RTLS, ambient sensors, et cetera, et cetera. But these solutions in today's world are still operating very much in silos. And so as we look towards the future, one of the key concepts that you'll notice is kind of the orchestration amongst these different solution sets in the smart setting. And then in addition to kind of the siloed nature of today's smart room, staffing shortages and financial pressures are at an all-time high as well, right? These are straining hospital resources, increasing things like length of stay and readmission rates, even infection rates and falls rates in the hospital. So those are kind of four of the ROI metrics that are really top of mind for us as we look at the smart room of the future. And again, we'll kind of dig into each of those towards the end of this presentation here. And then finally, but just as important is that patients and their caregivers are lacking personalized, actionable guidance in their care, right? And so too often we rely on patients and their family members, whoever's with them in the room, their caregivers, to try to find the information that's most useful to them, as opposed to flipping that on its head and delivering the most important information that's truly going to drive that patient's care, giving them what they need when they need it, et cetera. And again, as Misty mentioned, we had a Get Well Wednesday all about Opal. I guess 2 months ago at this point. We'll probably have another one here in the future as that progresses. But the concept of Opal is all about giving the patient what they need when they need it, and being much smarter with our interactions with the patients. So, as we kind of imagine the vision for a smart room, a room where everything works together, right? Data is kind of flowing seamlessly from the EHR to Get Well to the ambient sensors and vice versa. Patients are receiving education and real-time safety guidance, the concept behind Opal. Clinicians have fewer interruptions and more actionable intelligence that they can use at the bedside, allowing them to focus on care. And then health systems, at the end of the day, if all these things come together, are able to kind of achieve measurable improvements in safety, efficiency, and patient experience. So this, as we dig into the smart room vision of the future for us, this is kind of the vision behind Get Well Smart Room of the future and the key goals associated with that. So in order to realize this vision, hospitals need what I call the core four solutions in place for a hospital smart room. So you can see the core four represented here, but the core four is a set of solutions that encompasses the EHR. So this is going to be our source of truth for all clinical data that's helping to drive the other systems, as well as an ambient AI and virtual care solution, right? And so this is the Artisites of the world, the Care AIs of the world, the Andors, the Avasures. There's a host of different vendors that provide this, but these are kind of the safety monitoring, the fall prevention, ambient sensors in the rooms, and also allows for various telehealth use cases. So virtual nursing, virtual observation, et cetera. Typically, this is a combination of a video camera in the room that plugs into the Get Well system, that also, in an ideal world, has some of the ambient sensors built in that can actually sense, hey, is a patient, getting up to the edge of the bed and maybe potentially getting out of the bed, and being able to sense some of these things throughout the room. Or, hey, has a patient or staff member just walked into a room, and have they gone over to the area that we know is the sink? Maybe not. So maybe they haven't washed their hands. So there's a lot of different use cases for these ambient AI and virtual care sensors that we'll get into towards the end of this call. The third bucket, of course, is us at Get Well, is kind of the interactive patient care model, right? And so from my perspective, Get Well is the orchestration layer. It is truly the digital front door for patients and families to interact with their care journey. And you'll see in a second here, there's a lot of different ways and different modalities in which we do that. And then finally, I have Nurse Call on here as the final of the core four. But Nurse Call is our immediate patient to staff communication, extremely important still. And you'll see how that ties into our smart room vision of the future as well. So each of these core four plays a vital role, but none of these alone can really deliver a true smart room experience, right? And so I consider Get Well as kind of the glue that holds these together and orchestrates and makes this a true smart room technology. And it's important to note there are other point solutions that can add benefit to a smart room as well, right? There's things like smart beds. There's things like wearable vital trackers. There's, real-time location systems, RTLS, so you can see who's coming into the room and what equipment's coming into the room. So there's a lot of other technology in this space, but in my mind, these are the core four, and we're gonna kind of talk about the core four for most of this presentation, and why they are important. So to bring this all together, and before we jump into how the core four kind of coexist with each other in the room of the future, I want to spend just a few minutes on quick refresher. what are the get well components in the smart room market today? As you can see from this slide, there is a ton of breadth and depth to what we do, what solutions we offer, and what features we offer. And so I'm going to double click into a couple of these, which I think are super important for the smart room of the future. And certainly I can answer any questions for anything else you see on the screen that I don't get into, but I want to double click on a few of these real quick. Starting with obviously the front and center display in the patient room. Oftentimes this is going to be on a smart TV at the patient foot wall. This is where GetWell has become the leader in the past 25 years. This is where we kind of got our start, is providing a front and center display in the room. And through here, as you guys probably know, we light things up like education, entertainment, room controls, the ability to order meals, video conferencing will display on this front and center TV screen so family can participate as well. And all of that becomes available through this front and center smart TV. And honestly, patients and family members are starting to become more accustomed to this type of offering in the hospital setting. You see it when you go into a hotel room, and patients and family members are becoming more accustomed to seeing this in the hospital setting these days as well. And as Misty mentioned, our latest advancement on the TV side and the front and center display side is GetWell Opal. And GetWell Opal is our version of a Siri or an Alexa. It's our AI persona that provides hyper-personalized assistance to patients who are at the bedside, right? So the goal here is really understand what's happening in their stay, help them keep on track with getting discharged in their care, and feel really in control of their stay, right? And all of that while freeing up nurses from the repetitive tasks that we can automate behind the scenes. And so this is a really exciting concept and really the future of where our inpatient experience is going. And so if you guys have not seen this yet, I encourage you check out the Get Well Wednesday from 2 months ago. Otherwise, leave a comment, after the call today, and we'd be happy to hop on and show you a demo of this, what it looks like, and where we're headed here. We don't have time to dig into all of that today, but some really exciting stuff going on the future of the smart TV in the patient room. Accompanying the front and center display, GetWell also offers, as many of you know, a BYOD, bring your own device personal solution. And here, patients and their caregivers can use their personal devices as either a remote control to control the system and up, down, left, right, select those types of activities, or to access the same set of tools that are available on their TV, right? And so maybe I am ordering a meal on my phone while I'm watching Moana, right? And that sort of experience becomes available through the BYOD experience. Jumping ahead, video conferencing, another extremely important piece of our offering and one that's gaining a ton of traction in the market today. From a capabilities perspective, there are three main buckets of solutions that we support and we do support today for video conferencing. In each of these workflows that you see on the screen here, GetWell is actually connecting the patient, typically at the bedside, to either their care team or a family member through a video conference, through the hospital room with a GetWell solution, right? And so kind of the three use cases that we've seen and lit up so far are, number one, virtual visits. That's a clinician being able to video conference into a patient room while being somewhere else in the hospital or being offsite completely. We also have virtual observation or virtual sitting that is supported, and that is allowing clinical or non-clinical video observation of multiple patient rooms at once. So imagine, being able to view 8 to 16 different rooms on a single computer screen and kind of get a sense of what's going on there from an observation standpoint. And then the third capability we support is friends and family. So allow patients to video chat with a friend or a family member outside of the hospital. So we'll talk through how video conferencing comes into play here. But again, ton of traction in that space, a really important piece of our smart room offering. Next up, digital whiteboard. Our standalone touch whiteboard gives patients and care team members instant access to critical information without disrupting what's on a patient's TV, right? And so typically this sits next to the smart TV in a smart room, and patients, family members, staff can come up, see that vital information, interact with it via touch, and this thing does cool things like it, adjusts brightness behind the scenes automatically based on time of day, so it doesn't keep patients awake. And it has different touch capabilities, so I can go up and actually draw a diagram of a procedure a patient's about to get and email that out to the patient. So a lot of different cool use cases supported here, but standalone touch whiteboard is typically a piece of our smart room offering as well, and a really important piece. Signal digital door boards. These are typically on an iPad sitting outside of the patient room. And Signal is actually, as I mentioned, a digital panel that is going to be communicating real-time critical information, things like isolation precautions or falls risks before people are actually entering the room, right? So it's pulling automated data similar to the whiteboard in real time from the EMR to ensure accuracy, and it helps both clinicians and family members and visitors confirm, hey, first of all, we're in the right place and providing the right care, and also any special precautions they need to know before entering the room. Our alerts here are highly customizable, different colors, icons. We even have as you can see in the top right here, we have LED lit cases that can match the health system's, visual standards and remain visible from the hallway. So, one of the use cases we've discussed is you can see where the doctor is, which room they're in based on the lights outside the room. And so a lot of different cool workflows available here from a Signal perspective. And Signal is meant to promote a culture of safety, right? It wants to improve compliance and ensure every member of the care circle has the information that they need to act safely and consistently in the hospital. And then last but not least, before we get into some of the fun stuff, digital rounding. We have a solution called Rounds Plus. Many of you are familiar with. Rounds Plus is our digital rounding solution, streamlines data collection, reduces documentation time, captures real-time patient feedback, and really supports, these rounding workflows in the hospital. It integrates seamlessly with existing hospital systems. It enables staff to conduct either patient, employee, or safety rounds with any device, typically iPad, but it can be supported on any device with a browser, and has a bunch of automated alerts, sentiment analysis, and reporting built into the system as well. So Rounds Plus is our solution that helps care teams really act quickly on patient needs, improve satisfaction scores, and drive quality improvement. And similar to the inpatient side, Rounds Plus is another area where Opal is starting to come to fruition, right? And driving the solution forward. And so we recently announced Opal Survey Scribe, which actually automatically listens to rounding conversations as they're happening. It's almost like ambient listening, except for you do press a button to actually kick off the scribe session. And it's going to transcribe these conversations in real time, analyze that discussion, and then put that back into the survey questions automatically. So it really pre-fills these survey responses directly into Rounds Plus, saving a ton of time. Caregivers still have the ability to review that information before they submit it, but saves a ton of time from a documentation standpoint for rounding. So again, if you're interested in this, we've had a Get Well Wednesday that also showed some of this work, but let us know. We're happy to hop on a call, show you this, show you a live demo of this. This is really impressive stuff that we are really excited about on the rounding front. All right, I'm going to pause here for one quick second and take a sip of water. Please feel free to ask questions, and then we're going to jump into the looking ahead section. All right, so we've now seen some of the key concepts and components of the Get Well Smart Room solution. So let's look at how we envision Get Well kind of coexisting with the other core four solutions for the ultimate smart room of the future and where the market is really heading in this space. So there's a lot going on this slide. So let me walk you through kind of the core four and how they define the smart room of the future in my perspective. So first and foremost, you'll see the EHR here. The EHR, the Epic, the Cerner, this is going to serve as the clinical source of truth. It's where your providers are going to be documenting care, orders, treatment plans, et cetera, et cetera. This data is critical because it actually is the data that flows into the other smart room components, as you'll see here, and ensures accuracy, makes sure we can get real-time information at the bedside. And so EHR, obviously a critical piece to the smart room of the future. Next up, we started to talk through ambient AI and virtual care, right? This actually adds a layer of intelligence and automation to the smart room, right? Typically, this is voice and vision sensors. Um, we partner with a number of different vendors on this front. I mentioned a couple up front: Care AI, Artisight, Avasure, Andor, etc. And these solutions also enable virtual nursing and virtual sitting through the GetWell TV. So typically they're plugged into the GetWell TV via a simple HDMI cable, and that allows us to actually communicate back and forth with these virtual care solutions. Also, we have typically APIs so we can communicate back and forth with these solutions. Third up is GetWell, right? And so GetWell, as I mentioned, acts as the digital front door for patients and families. So through our various modalities, our TVs, could be tablets, BYOD, our door boards, our whiteboards, all of that stuff we just looked at. This is where patients and their family members are going to be receiving the education, receiving the entertainment aspects, and really clear communication and direction about their care. Right. This solution also is the orchestration tool that orchestrates the entire care experience for the patient and their family members. And in the case of rounds, also for nurses and caregivers as well. We are integrating this data from the EHR. We have connection points with the EHR and alerting some of the AI systems as well to engage patients proactively, which you'll see a couple examples of here in a second. And then finally, nurse call, as I mentioned up front, a foundational safety net to the smart room of the future. This allows for the direct patient to staff communication and really ensures requests are triaged and addressed very quickly. When we integrate nurse call with Get Well, we can do some really interesting workflows, right? A patient call could trigger AI monitoring automatically or alert staff presence via RTLS, or even, update a digital whiteboard automatically based on a number of things. So a lot of really cool workflows available there. And so together, these four solutions create a fully orchestrated smart room solution. And as you can see on the right-hand side here, we have some case studies when these things are actually aligned and integrated appropriately. There are some really, really impressive numbers that we've been able to drive using some of the stuff we're going to look at on the next 3 slides here. So let's talk about infection prevention, very specifically in regards to what does the smart room of the future look like for infection prevention. And the workflow here actually starts with the EMR, right? And so the EMR is going to be providing, as I mentioned, the clinical data to help identify which patients are at high risk for infection, right? Those who are post-surgical, immunocompromised, maybe they have a central line, or maybe they're in a critical care unit. All of this information can be used to determine and make a risk assessment for a particular patient of how much at risk are they for a certain type of infection, whether it be SSI, Claudia, CABC, etc. And so GetWell is actually going to use this data to deliver very targeted infection prevention interventions across multiple touch points, right? And so you see a couple of those here, but on the smart TV, our AI assistant Opal automatically assigns tailored hygiene education and is going to send timely reminders to patients about things that they can do to help boost the safety level from an infection perspective in their hospital room. In addition to that, at the room entrance, we have our signal door board, and this is going to reinforce safety by reminding staff and visitors of hand hygiene protocols and maybe isolation precautions before they enter the room, right? And so again, Opal's going to automatically light up these alerts on the signal device so people coming up to the room can see that information very clearly before entering the room. And during rounds, we can do some interesting stuff as well, right? Our Rounds Plus tool is going to give care teams a quick snapshot of some of those infection risks up front. It's going to help guide them on PPE use. It's going to help manage their room traffic. It's going to help them coach patients on infection control and make recommendations there, right? Things like, hey, make sure that the patient's cell phone is within reach so they're not getting up that's more fall related, but these types of activities being surfaced in rounds for some staff to patient coaching there. And then finally, you see in the bottom left here, the ambient AI and virtual care solutions are going to be continuously monitoring things along the way, right? And so some of the solutions in place today are things like, hey, monitor staff entry and exit and track hand hygiene events, right? And so these sensors can be trained to notice, hey, I know where the soap dispenser is, I know where the sink in the room is. So as a staff member enters the room, if they don't go over to the sink or they don't go over to the dispenser, let's prompt something up on the patient's TV and let them know, hey, remind the staff member to wash their hands. And so there's a lot of interesting workflows possible using these ambient sensors as kind of a continuously monitoring solution as well. And so again, this is very focused on infection prevention, but this is one example of kind of the orchestrated approach between the core four that makes infection prevention and takes infection prevention to the next level and, makes it proactive and not reactive. And so, again, we've seen some case studies here when this is done well. This leads to fewer HAIs, hospital-acquired infections. It leads to safer rooms. And ultimately, those have pretty significant monetary impact for the health systems that we partner with. I see some questions flowing in, so I will. I'm almost through the deck, and I want to leave like a couple minutes at the end for questions, if that's cool. Real quick, a very similar concept in regards to fall prevention in a smart hospital room, right? Anticipating risks before harm occurs, right? And so again, this is going to start with the EMR. It's going to provide us with the info we need to make a fall risk assessment, medication details, et cetera, et cetera. Again, the ambient AI and virtual care is going to be detecting unsafe movements. Maybe a patient is trying to exit a bed or a chair at night, and can even provide things like a virtual sitter support without adding extra staff. We can do things like automatically trigger the nurse call system if sensors detect unsafe movement, or again, pop something up on the patient's screen that says, hey, you shouldn't be standing up on your own. We're going to call your nurse for you. And so communicating that back to patients and family members in the room. So a lot of really interesting workflows here as well. Similarly, you'll see lighting up alerts on the digital door boards as well as within rounds. And so a lot of the same concepts on the fall prevention side. And just because I'm short on time, I do want to talk through kind of another thing we're keeping a very close eye on is the potential of voice controls in the patient room, right? We absolutely envision a world where patients are going to have a get well Opal concierge agent where they can say, what is my next pain medication? When am I getting it? Or dim the lights in the room, or hey, watch Moana. My parents already do this today when they're watching cable television, right? And so we envision a world where this comes to the hospital setting. And at the same time, this ambient listening is also going to be listening for various workflow cues, right? It's going to capture notes automatically. It's going to be understanding sentiment analysis from both a staff and patient perspective and proactively prompting interventions through Get Well before escalations occur. We have learned through very direct conversations that the market is not yet ready for microphones in the hospital room. And so we are for those of you who are at our conference, we kind of prototyped what this looks like, a actual agent that you can interact with via voice. So we're going to continue to do research and development on this. We anticipate the market is going to slowly get there, but in today's world, folks are not comfortable putting a microphone in the room quite yet, but we do believe it's coming.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Time check. I have two
Yeah,
left.
we're
I'm
two
not going to get
minutes.
into this stuff. Yeah. So I'll pass it over to you.
I'll read you off a few of the questions that came in. So one of the questions is, are these tools available now or are these future projects?
So most of the tools that you saw today are available now, with exception to some of the Opal concepts that are in our roadmap currently being worked and will be available in the near term. But most of these workflows that you saw today are supported today using the Core 4 solutions and the right uh, communication between those systems.
And then we had a question about, will this require middleware integration or is GetWell acting as middleware between these integrations?
There is no middleware required. GetWell is acting as the orchestrator between these systems, and that's part of, that's part of our value prop here is we are the orchestrator between many of these systems in many cases. Now, that being said, some of these ambient solutions might also interface directly with the EHR. So the EHR is not coming through GetWell to go to the ambient sensors, but we can serve as kind of a middleware component for some of these things.
All right, and that actually brings us to time. So this was recorded. We will post this recording on the Get Well Connection Hub. We will also send these slides out, so you will have a link to register for the Get Well Connection Hub if you do not already have an account. And other than that, I hope we see you at the next Get Well Wednesday. There is a survey that will pop up if we did not get to your question, or if you have questions, please leave it in the survey and we will get back to you. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.